Hello and welcome to this session. We are going to speak about journey with 100X, and we have with us two very enthusiastic founders, Shashank, who is the founder of the Renal Project, and Ashwin, who is the founder of Battery Pool. They have had a startup which 100X has funded, and they are going to share with you some of the things which you've probably never heard before, their journey, their learnings, their tips. So let me welcome Shashank. Shashank is the founder of the Renal Project, and also let me welcome Ashwin. Ashwin is the founder of Battery Pool. So I hope both of you gentlemen will share some exciting tips with the audience, something they've never heard before. And that's how they're here today to spend half an hour with both of you to understand your journey with 100X, what happened, what transpired, and how they can learn from your journey. So let me get going and ask Ashwin a very simple question. What does Battery Pool do? What does your startup do?
Yeah. Hey, Nina, thanks for having me. So at Battery Pool, we're building the technology stack for electric mobility. And the problem that we're really trying to solve is how do you make electric mobility adoption more convenient, right? So we have hardware and software solutions that help uh, customers who want to use EVs. It helps them adopt electric vehicles without the inconvenience of owning an EV.
How did you think of this idea, Ashwin? What is the problem you're trying to solve, and how do you think of this idea?
Yeah. So, in fact, the idea of starting Battery Pool actually came up when I was working at a public policy think tank. So after I finished my master's in the US, I moved back to India, and I come back to India with the idea of starting up. And I spent a year working at a public policy think tank. We were looking at various sectors in the Indian technology ecosystem, and one of the sectors we were looking at was the automotive space. This was like late 2016, early 2017, when the Tesla was getting a lot of traction in the West, and the Indian government had huge plans of going all electric by 2030. So that got my interest. I figured this is an interesting space that is on its way up in the when it comes to the Indian market. And we actually, when we started to look closely at this space, what we realized was that the adoption of electric mobility is actually going to happen in the fleet ecosystem first. So fleets, people who use vehicles for things like last mile delivery, shared mobility, that's where we're going to see adoption of electric mobility happen first in India. Because in these use cases, the economics of using electric vehicles makes sense. It made sense back in 2017. It makes even more sense today. And so within the electric mobility ecosystem, that's the space that we were looking at, the fleet space. And to understand what kind of challenges the fleet operators face, we actually ran a fleet of electric vehicles ourselves. And these products, hardware and software products that we're talking about, we built it for our own purpose. And in 2020, in the midst of the COVID lockdown, we actually realized that this can be useful for other fleet operators as well. And that's when we pivoted, and that's when we now started to give out these solutions to fleet operators in other parts of the world.
Great. So you actually had a small fleet of your own. You learned the challenges of managing a fleet, and now you're got a software which manages. So fantastic. Let me move to Shashank. Shashank, the Renal Project. I loved that name. Fantastic. I won't get to who thought of that name. You might want to tell a personal story surrounding that. But what does the Renal Project do? What is the genesis of it? How do you think of this idea?
Yeah. So thanks for having me. And before I started the Renal Project in 2019, I was working in corporate for a US-based company that makes kidney care products. So when I was heading the Asia Pacific region as a quality manager, so this international job gave me a very good insight into where India stands as far as healthcare is concerned in general, and because of my line of work, specifically the kidney care. And some reasons were pretty shocking that the kind of machines and the install base we had in other countries, and how easily kidney dialysis was available in other countries, even like countries like Thailand and Malaysia, and India was really lagging behind. And it just created a lot of curiosity that why is India so much behind when it comes to kidney care? And the statistics were shocking. About 3 lakh patients dying just because they could not get dialysis. People were traveling 200 kilometers just to get dialysis every 3 days. So those were the things that it created a sense of mission. And I thought that, looking back, it doesn't make sense to me to work in my glass cabin and all that, but I need to throw myself out there. So I decided to, stay in India and create something that will reach this dialysis therapy to wherever it is needed. And since I'm an engineer, we've worked on projects. Even our exams were projects. And all my masters, we did not have any classroom time. Everything was projects. So I thought that in order to give this sense of mission, that we need to start something and accomplish something, like make dialysis easily available in India. So we chose this name, the Renal Project, because it's coming with a sense of a mission.
So, how many centers do you have? What is the traction you're seeing? Typically, what kind of dialysis machines are in? Give a little bit more color on how it operates. You've given a broad vision of what you're trying to do, but a little
Right.
bit more details.
Sure. So when I researched this whole landscape of kidney care in India, what came to mind is that we do not need huge dialysis centers like hospitals in tier 1 cities. We need small 2-3 bed. A 3-bed is a very small size center or any offering when it comes to healthcare. We need small dialysis centers that can be opened in the outskirts and the peripheries and the neighborhoods and just penetrate into the landscape of India. So the Renal Project essentially became a chain of dialysis micro centers. It was just a thought. But when I talked to my guru, Dr. Dhananjay Ukalkar, he is a very well renowned nephrologist based in Nagpur. We came up with the unit economics, and with his guidance, we opened our first center in the northern suburbs of Mumbai, and it was an instant success. Now, because a lot of hospitals, they are like, "Arey, you are just a 35 or 50 bed hospital and you are offering dialysis. What happened?" They're like, "See, we don't know how to operate a dialysis. We we partnered with the Renal Project kind of a company, young boys, and now we are having a lot of patients and we are offering dialysis." So the word spread. So with one and the next center, 2 centers, we were getting a lot of traction. We were already EBITDA positive because we did not have any money to burn, basically. And that's when when 100X picked us up. When they saw that there is this potential, they invested in us, and this was December of 2019. And till then, in last 8 months, we had only 2 centers. With the subsequent round of funding, in 1 year, we opened another 21 centers in Mumbai, Pune, Thane, Nasik area. And we are serving hundreds of patients with very proximate dialysis. As far as traction is concerned, until July to 2020, when a second round of funding came, we were again a bit negative because we were burning. But between July 2020 to December 2020, we grew 400%.
Wow, 400%.
Yes,
Wow.
and we have doubled our revenue between December 2020 and March 2021.
Fantastic. So, I mean, you're fulfilling a big social need. At the same time, it's good that you're, you're getting money to set up more centers. So, Ashwin, there is a lot of focus on electrical vehicles, green policy. There's probably not a single week when we don't hear positive statements from government of India, specifically governments across the world. What does that mean to you? Does it mean your market is expanding? Does it mean more and more need for you? How do you read into all this?
Yeah, so it means 2 things, right? So one is that actually this, if we go back to like late 2017, early 2018, when we started back, a lot of people didn't know what electric vehicles were, right? How electric vehicles operated. They didn't know how they recharged. They had some vague idea that it had a battery in there and the battery needed recharging, but no one had a clue about anything beyond that. Now, fast forward to 2021, and everyone we speak to knows about electric vehicles. Most of them know what models are out there. Most of them know how long it takes to recharge. So this kind of news that the news that's in the media really helps in educating the customers, and that saves us the trouble of having to educate our own customers. and really sort of creates that market for us to jump into. Right? And specifically when you talk about government policy and subsidies, so a lot of policies and subsidies, they come up both at the central level as well as the state level, and this is really to spur demand. And most of the government guys also realize that right now the adoption of electric mobility, there's a very strong use case in the fleet and commercial vehicle space. So even within electric mobility, the subsidies and the regulations are trying to keep this focus towards this fleet and commercial vehicle segment. And that's really helped us because that's our target segment right now. And just, if you look at the last year, the market segment within this B2B space has grown by over 50%, right, in sales on a year-on-year basis, which might seem small, but if you look at sort of the electric vehicle trajectory in the last few years, it's a pretty big leap.
Okay.
Right? And
Great.
everyone, so I just want to point out that everyone in the government side also knows that the future is electric. So they've been sort of coaxing the supply side, the industry side to really drive that transition towards electric vehicles. So that also helped us.
So viewers, if you want to ask Ashwin and Shashank any questions, this is your chance. You've got time now to ask. I'll ensure that whatever question comes, I'm seeing a lot of viewers already. Don't wait. Ask the question right now. I'll pick it up as and when it comes. I will not wait for the end. So I will ask. Shashank, a quick personal question and quick response. You are living a dream of many Indians, working in GE, working in US. Why did you chuck it out and come back to India?
Yeah, so I as part of my research, when I was actually working in the corporate job, I studied the landscape. I took the ST buses to the interiors and got the train and went into the inside of India to find out what the landscape is. And what I saw was, right here there is a need. I'm in a total position with my expertise in dialysis management and the technology and, putting it all together to serve a real need. And there is this opportunity staring at me. And so when you get sucked up into this thing, the curiosity, you keep on going into it. And then when you look back suddenly, the glass cabin and, the director, the VP and the hierarchy just doesn't make sense to you anymore. And that's when you have this very hard discussion with your dad. He's like, you were flying all the way to Japan and South Korea, and these days you are traveling to Amravati and Satara. What's up? I mean, what are you doing with your life? So my dad was not happy with it, that, I was about to quit my corporate job. But my mom was very happy with the whole prospects. So that is another tip to everyone, that do not listen to anyone, not even in the same house or in the same friend circle, but just do what exactly makes sense to you at that point of time. And I do love the US life and everything, but I really valued the value of my life. And I thought it would be very purposeful and meaningful what I can do with this, what I just saw in front of my eyes in the interior of Maharashtra, and then everything else is a blur. So it was very easy decision for me to quit US.
Okay, follow your passion. Ashwin, Stanford, Purdue. Why India after that? Quick one,
Yeah.
Ashwin.
Yeah. So I actually, my father's an entrepreneur, and he'd been encouraging me to come back to India. So that was a huge driver for me to come back. And similar to Shashank, I really wanted to sort of create an impact, and I think that opportunity was there in India to do that, not so much in the US.
So let's talk, Ashwin, a little bit about your journey with 100X. How did you get to know about 100X, and how was your experience, initial contact, initial experience with 100X?
Yeah. So I actually found out about 100X through Sanjay's post. Right? So when you guys were launching 100X, that's when I heard about the program, and I applied actually to the first class. I applied to class 1, and I remember coming down to Bombay and pitching to you and Yagnesh and the team, and I didn't get selected for class 1. So back then we were actually running a fleet of electric vehicles, and we probably hadn't sort of thought through things well. We were not there yet. And come class 2, that's when Shashank reached out to us, and he wanted to understand more about Shashank from the 100X team had reached out to us, and he wanted to understand more about what we were up to. And that's also when we had made that pivot. So that's when we re-engaged, and class 2 was class 2 happened because of that.
So, Shashank, I'm going to ask you this question. There are a lot of questions already started. Srinivas Iyer is asking, when you start up, you're constrained for resources, which goes without saying, and even offering investment might tempt you. How do you decide for an investor? Now, since you've had a journey, Shashank, for so long, how do you decide which investor is right for you, and how did you decide 100x is right for you?
Right. So I did not know about 100x. I got to know it from my incubation from the Niti Aayog, Government of India. So when I was incubated, they got us in touch with a lot of investors, and 100x approached. I know for a lot of people, it's not a choice at that point of a time. Whoever buys into your idea and gives you the money, you really don't have a choice. You have to take the money. Of course, you can maybe bargain a little bit on the percentages and all that. But 100x already had such a huge name that for me, it was almost like if 100x is choosing you, dude, you're not going to, you can't double think. You just take it, right? So to be very honest, I did not choose 100x. 100x chose me. And Sanjay Mehta's name, and Yagnesh, and these were really awesome names to. So we just went with it. And later on, for the advice is that someone who needs to understand your industry very well. I came across investors who really have invested in healthcare. They know what is the pace, a realistic pace of a healthcare industry versus a fintech industry or some technology company. So someone who really understands a brick and mortar, your model, your aspirations, and your thought process, he is the right investor, honestly.
So I think you've given some real practical tips, Shashank. That's great. What was your journey? You mentioned that you came to 100x, and how was it smooth? Were there ups and downs? How was your initial journey? And then I'll come for some more questions.
Sure. So, see, a journey. When you say about journey, think about it. It's you have some expertise. This expertise become into an idea, that becomes into a product into a business, and this business needs to be honed into a startup level business. Any business can be a mom and pop, but the last stage after the idea to the product to the business to a startup business is the whole journey. Now, someone needs to see the opportunity and invest in it. So, according to me, in this journey, what 100x has really played is, see, I was very good in execution and hospital life and all that. I was very happy with it, trust me. But I did not have the acumen to how to make it into like a fast scaling business. So 100x really picked me up and put me on like track, like a railway track, and just nudged it with their seed funding, and it was a fantastic feeling because I'm like, oh my God, if they did not offer us this kind of a channelized expertise, we would have been working very hard and not going in the right direction towards a unicorn. I mean, not to be very aspirational, but in the right direction of prosperity.
So Ashwin, let's switch gears and talk a little bit about iSafe, iSafe Note. What has been your experience with iSafe? And Shashank, you may add after that quickly. But can you speak a little bit about your experience of dealing with iSafe Note, which 100x has pioneered in India?
Yeah. So at this stage, at the early stage, I think one of the most important things for a founder is to, get money quickly into the bank and start executing, right? So people can spend 6, 8, 12 months sometimes trying to fundraise, and there's still sort of no money in there. Sometimes when you get commitments, but the whole due diligence process takes its own time, right? So the iSafe note makes it sort of very simple. I remember that when we pitched to 100x and we got selected, that whole process took roughly like 1.5 weeks for us to get the money in the bank from when we first pitched to the 100x team. So that is really helpful for me as a founder. And secondly, at an early stage, I think things like valuation are anyone's guess. So the iSafe perfectly sort of addresses that, where using sort of convertible notes and using those structures, it helps in postponing that to the next round where your company might be a little more mature, the business might be a little more mature, and you can take a better call on what the real valuation of the company is. That helps as well.
Shashank, you've had a bit more experience, because you're part of Class 1. Your quick advice to founders on an iSafe note as an instrument of raising money?
Right. So as much as possible, keep on raising money with iSafe, because it's not easy money. But with iSafe, the process is very easy, and the money, as Ashwin rightfully said, that it's exactly true that the money hits the bank very soon without much hassle, and that's exactly what we need. And as long as you can carry iSafe as much as possible, do that. And SHA round then will come with a lot of pain before the money hits the bank. So iSafe is definitely go for it.
Go for it. Go for it, iSafe. Go for it,
Yeah,
founders. Do study iSafe in great detail. A
yeah.
lot of details are there on our website, 100X.VC, and then take a decision. Ashwin, Prabhu Kumar is asking, what is the easy way to raise funds? I thought there is no easy way, but maybe you know something. And Prabhu Kumar is asking, what is the easy way to raise funds?
No, I mean, there is no easy way. That's the short answer. But the easiest way that we have found is by going through the 100x process, right? So not just the initial seed investment that 100x gives you, but even after that, through the pitch day, the kind of money that you would raise through 100x's network of angels and VCs. That process is really expedited if you're through the 100x program. And so if someone like Mira talks you to the larger community of investors, that really gets the ball rolling, and what can take you months can be brought down to a matter of weeks.
Sure.
So yeah.
So there's no easy way. Short
There's
answer.
no easy way, but having someone who's in there and who knows people in the ecosystem definitely helps expedite the process. But it's not easy in any way.
Sure. So viewers, please do post your questions. This is your chance. Don't hesitate. Don't hesitate at all. Shashank, you're part of class one, and in class one, maybe you want to relive your experience or tell in brief about pitch day, which for you was in the physical format. That time we could do it at IIT Bombay, but maybe you want to kind of briefly describe your experience of pitch day.
Yeah, sure. So I just want to make you guys a little bit jealous. Is that what Ninad wants me to do? Because nothing can beat a physical, personal interaction at this scale versus having an online, virtual pitch. I remember in IIT, as soon as you enter the stage, there's like whole lot of investors right in front of you. Okay, and some people have stage fear. I don't have stage fear, but I had to control myself because I was so much out of I just wanted to go out there and speak it out. But as 100x warned me that this is not drama. Okay, this is not theater. This is professional and this is business. You can't move too much. You can't distract people too much. So every pitch, we were 20 of us. Every pitch was very well rehearsed with the 100x team. Every word, each and every word, even on the slide and what we speak, was well curated. And you have to come, speak your thing, do not distract anyone, and just move out. And once the pitch is actually delivered, then it was very well arranged that then we have a booth outside of the auditorium, and the investors can come in and speak to you one-on-one that, hey, I heard your speech inside, what can be done? So I think that was a very good format. And nothing can beat, as I said, the physical experience of actually pitching to an audience, and your body language and everything speaks a loads about you and your confidence and how much you have the passion and believe in your own project. So that makes the difference. Also, 100x went a notch above. They actually had someone in who could groom us in terms of how much we are fumbling, what are the words we are not supposed to use. If we are scratching our head, I just did that. Whether our belt is matching our shoe color. Seriously, that is my experience. This is what 100x did to us, guys. So pray that COVID is over and 100x gets you this experience, So that was a lovely, lovely pitch day in which everything was very well placed. The food was also good. And you delivered, and there were so many investors who just flocked to us. Now, as Ashwin said, that with with 100x and such kind of investors, sometimes it reduces the time, and with me too. In 1.5 years, I might be still looking at a seed funding or something. But the 100x and what followed next is that Investor Connect actually expedited the whole thing by about a couple of years. So I think that the 2023 for me is in 2021.
Wow, 2023 is in 2021. That's a nice statement to make. Ashwin, what was your experience leading to the pitch day? The master classes and
Yeah,
interaction. Maybe you can just do a quick summary to our viewers.
sure. Yeah, no, so the one word I describe it was intense, right? So we'd have master classes back to back through the day. And being sort of remote, I think it created the opportunity to pack in more master classes than what you would probably have in person. And so we had people from all over the country, all over the world, in fact, give us master classes on various topics, right from your marketing strategies to fundraising to technology to product. And so what we do is we have this master class and in the evening we prepare for our pitch day. So the pitch day in our case was of a slightly different format. So it was a virtual format first, where we pitched online and investors. So similar to how they had a booth, in our case we had a profile on a web page, and investors would like our pitch. And we would reach out to investors post the pitch day, and that's where we got tons of connects for our fundraising. And that, like what Shah mentioned, really sort of abbreviated that whole fundraising process to a matter of weeks for us to be able to raise our first major seed round.
Good. I heard tons of connects. So there's a question, Ashwin, for you from Aman Goel. How do you build a team to develop hardware for a company? It's a very interesting question.
Yeah.
Team building.
Yeah. It's a very interesting question. And that's something that, to be honest, as a founder, is something that I'm still struggling with, I'm still learning. And I've spoken to other founders also about this. They say that that's team building is probably like something that's a little more tougher than fundraising. Someone asked how tough is fundraising, how tough is raising money, but I'd say team building is up there in terms of how tough it can be. So you want to sort of at this stage optimize for people who have the right attitude, who have the enthusiasm, and who see the vision and what you are trying to build. As opposed to say someone who has very deep skill sets. And this is whether it is hardware, software, marketing, business development, whatever it is, right? So that you want to optimize for people who are enthusiastic. Skill sets can obviously be learned as they come in, as they are looking at the task, looking at their responsibilities a little more in detail. So that's the approach I've followed. I found some basic sort of hardware, but who has a lot of excitement, enthusiasm, and drive for what we want to be doing at Battery Pool, and that's helped us build it.
Sure. So your internet is a bit patchy, but that's the way it is. We will, whatever words we can catch is fine. But you made some very interesting points. Team building is critical, is what you mentioned. So viewers, we have last few questions I can take. So if you have any questions, please do ask. Srinivas Iyer is asking, and I will direct it to Shashank. Mistakes. Have you made mistakes? And he's saying, mistakes cost dearly for startups. How do you handle it?
Yeah, so keep aside a budget for mistakes. That's what I would say. Obviously, we've made tons of mistakes. We bought my first center, costed me 25 lakhs of my own money. And because I was an idiot, if I would have learned a little bit more about like the leasing model and things like that, and not be there were options for me to be capex light. If someone had told me about this, then I would have saved so much, and I could have created 3 centers out of the same money. But things happen. So that was just a small example, yeah. But investments, and when the investor comes in, they also know. And a good investor is someone who will tell you that you are going to make mistakes, and it might cost you some money or some time, but that's the way you learn, and they are understanding that way. And those are the good type of investors. And 100x also, I've been yelled at by 100x a couple of times because I've made a lot of mistakes. They can tell you more about it better than I can about my mistakes.
So, Saket Jain is asking impact of COVID on a business. Ashwin, you want to take it? And again, coming back to traction.
Yeah. So in fact, post-COVID, our business has seen a lot of traction. The reason being that with COVID, there's been a huge increase in things like last mile delivery, and companies like e-commerce companies like Amazon, Flipkart, companies like BigBasket have realized that it makes sense from a PR and optics point of view, but also from an economics point of view to use EVs for last mile delivery. So our market size with COVID just increased 10x overnight. And because of that, we've seen a lot of traction for our products, where our products are being used by these last mile delivery customers for managing their fleet operations when they use electric vehicles. So in fact, like the last few months for us have been pretty crazy. We've our revenue has gone up 5x from February to March, and this current year we're projecting in our year-on-year growth to be at least 10 times of
Wow.
So it's been pretty exciting. It's going to be it's going to be an inflection point, we believe, in our journey at Battery.
Great. So Srinivas Iyer has asked two questions. I'll quickly take them. One is on how to be an angel investor. There are many opportunities. You can get in touch with us, and whatever companies are on a pitch day, you can look at opportunities. He's also asking about ideas which founders pitch. See, it's all about execution, Srinivas. It's not about ideas. We hear plenty of ideas. Ultimately, if Shashank is successful and if Ashwin is successful, it's not just the idea, it's about how they've executed. Shashank mentioned about a lot of conversations we've had with him in terms of getting the model in place. And we've had similar conversations with Ashwin. And this is how it goes. It's ultimately, they are running the business, we are investors, and they ensure success because execution is really the key. So let me now start asking you some quick questions, one sentence, one word responses, and I want both of you to give some quick response. I'll start with Shashank. One sentence, why will you recommend 100X? One sentence.
It definitely reduces your time in the fundraising process.
Okay, reduces your time, in a fundraising. Ashwin, your biggest change before 100X and after 100X?
The kind of support and mentoring that we've had, that's been huge for us in terms of helping us get to where we are today.
Support and mentoring. Our logo, our theme is mentoring unlimited, and I'm glad Ashwin has mentioned that. Shashank, one sentence, your tip or advice to early stage founders seeking funding. There are a lot of, we do get audience of early stage founders, and they come to this live session to get tips. One sentence, a quick tip before you log off.
Right. So one sentence would be to get the right perspective. It took me 25 years of education and 10 years of work experience to even write my first business plan. So if I think that 1 year of pitching took too long time, then I think I'm just being unfair.
Okay, great. And Ashwin, what in one word? I want to use one. You use only one word. What is the biggest quality required now of founders to succeed?
Persistence.
Yeah. Persistence. Okay. Shashank, you also, can you say in one word what do you think is the biggest quality required founders? One word.
Yeah, core competency.
Core competency. And last, to wind down, Ashwin, one sentence. Why will you recommend 100X?
Personally, because of the mentorship you will get and the ability to take your business from X to 100X literally.
That's a great way to end. The ability to take your business from X to 100X. Viewers, you've seen for last 30-35 minutes, we have had a very interesting conversation. Shashank has made some very candid comments the way he is. He's spoken about his mistakes. He's spoken about his journey. He's on a very, very, path of high growth. And Ashwin has also spoken about how he set up his business, his journey with 100X, the importance of iSafe, and how it has ensured our mentoring and we provided 100X has ensured his success. Thank you, viewers, for joining. Thank you, Shashank. Thank you, Ashwin, for sharing your thoughts. It was really nice and a pleasurable task to have both of you today. and discuss with you. And thank you for being very candid. Thank you for joining.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Niraj.
Ninad. Take care, Ashwin. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you.